playing in that Euro 2016 and what Wales achieved, it must have been so amazing to be part of that team.
Yeah, I think success at any international level and at any major tournament is an incredible achievement. Particularly when you see the quality in the World Cup, and we see how difficult it is in the first few games for Wales. On this occasion, so yeah, it kind of makes you realise what we achieved as a nation during that period of time. And yeah, it was a very unique moment in not only in my career but also in the nation, in terms of it was very much a rugby nation up until that point. We were sort of shifting the awareness and shifting that attention towards football and really making younger kids dream and realise that actually Wales as a nation could compete with other large nations at an international level. And yeah, it was an iconic moment. Certainly changed my life, from that perspective, having played in the Premier League, played at Championship level, throughout my career, and all of a sudden sort of going on to a global stage and scoring that goal. It was obviously an incredible moment for me, but it was more the fact of getting through to the semi-finals of a major tournament, knocking out Belgium, who I think were ranked number 1 or 2 in the world at the time. I remember their lineup, they had, I think it was over £500 million worth of players playing in that lineup, and it sort of put things in perspective of what we achieved. And yeah, as a fan now, it would be nice to see that those moments recreated, because it was an incredible journey for sure.
What about the group? Because the group of players and special moments, achieving like you just talked about, the mentality of seeing them all again, and it's probably footballing terms, it's the greatest time of your life, obviously.
Yeah, I think there's so many different layers that you have to have in order to generate success. Success is never a coincidence. So the infrastructure of the group, the togetherness, the camaraderie, that was all there. But then on top of that, you had that tactical discipline, that real understanding of what it takes to compete at an international level. Do not concede, do not get broken down, be hard to play against. And I think things like that they're easily lost, so and then obviously layer on top of that the likes of Aaron Ramsey, Gareth Bale in their prime. We had Joe Allen in midfield, who was one of the best midfielders that I've certainly ever played with or played against in terms of how he manipulates the ball. And then we had sort of leaders throughout the whole team, the likes of Ashley Williams, obviously Wayne Hennessy, Joe Ledley, James Chester. And yeah, it was a really unique period of time. And looking back again, you sort of realise what you actually achieved when you come to tournaments such as this.
Obviously, this group of players are trying to create history now themselves. They've already done that by reaching this World Cup, having not done that since 1958. So a great achievement all round. But what's the rivalry like between England and Wales when you're in that camp, like you did at the Euro 2016? Because again, England and Wales were grouped together. What's it like when you're facing your near neighbour?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of media attention again in the build-up to that game with England in the group stages, and I remember a few of the press conferences which I was in as well, and Gareth Bale was obviously leading them, and there was this banter between him and obviously Jack Wilshere, and it was about who would you have from the Wales team into the England team. Yeah. I think that, and obviously the media really sort of pulled up on that, caught up on that, and then vice versa, who would you have from the England team into the Welsh team? And Gareth Bale has said no one. I'd have no one from the England team, and I think that really sort of triggered quite a few of the England players. Obviously Jack Wilshere, because he had a massive nibble. But yeah, it was good. It's that bit of fun. It's entertainment, but it's going into a competition, and if you're an international player, you're competitive and you know how to win, and so coming up against local rivals in a national level, it just adds to that feistiness, that competitiveness, and yeah, it was a really enjoyable experience.
As you know, everyone, if you played like I did for Ireland and Wales and Scotland, Northern Ireland, England is the target. England is the benchmark because they've had most success. They've won the World Cup. They generally have the better players, or because they have a big pool of players. And that is your go-to, is that England are the target.
Yeah, like every nation, from the home nations is very aware that England, in terms of the depth, the quality, of course, they've got the best players. When you look at that group now, they've got some of, arguably some of the best players in the world. Likes of Phil Foden, who actually, can't get onto the pitch at the minute. Obviously, Jack Grealish being one of the most expensive British players. Obviously, Harry Kane, he would go into any international team as a striker. So yeah, I think they've certainly got that quality, and it does make it tough. And I've had the opportunity to speak to the likes of Gary Neville on this trip, and he talks about how at a top team, and when you're playing for a top international team such as England, a top nation, you are, when you play against anyone, it's almost like it's their final, because they're coming up against those top players, against that top team, against that top nation. So for these players to deal with that, it adds another 20% on top of the competitiveness of every single game. So people don't really realise that when you're looking from the outside in, of what these players and coaching staff and managers actually have to deal with. So yeah, I think it's it all adds to the competition, all adds to the expectation. But I think that these guys, they carry a lot on their shoulders, and the performances that they put in when they do perform well, they should be applauded for.
We are running out of time, and I'm conscious there's a couple of things I want to ask you about, so I'm going to do it really quickly. Tuesday, what happens, and why is Turmeric so good?
Yeah, so we'll start with Tuesday. It's going to be a massive game, and there's going to be a lot riding on it. I think England have obviously done enough to qualify, but as we said earlier, they're going to want to put in a performance. But it's all or nothing for Wales, so they need to approach this game, as we said, like a final. This is the World Cup final for Wales, because if they win, and again, it's out of their hands, but if they get a result elsewhere, all of a sudden they go into the knockout stages of a World Cup tournament without having really played to the level that we sort of expect them to play to. So yeah, it's going to be a massive game, but it's a tough ask for Wales, and I think the England players will be aware of what they need to do. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And secondly, why is turmeric so good for you? So turmeric, so I'm the founder of a company called the Turmeric Co. And essentially what we've done is we've brought a range of homemade shots to market, and these shots are all based around raw turmeric root, but also other natural functional ingredients which offer health benefits. And so I was 15 when I suffered a major injury. I ruptured my ACL, which is the main ligament in your knee. Basically, my knee went inwards, sort of snapped in half. And so I went for 2.5 years without kicking a ball from 15 to 17. And then on my rehabilitation, I was looking at ways to reduce the pain and inflammation and swelling in my knee. And I really couldn't find any solution. And we sort of went through, standard prescriptions, standard medications, but my body was having an adverse effect. So we had to look at natural solutions. And my father and I, we basically went on a research binge. This is now over 15 years ago. So we didn't have the internet how we have today, but we looked at sort of ancient practices, ancient medicine, Ayurvedic practices, and it pointed us in the direction of all of these raw natural ingredients. So things like watermelon, turmeric, ginger, pineapple, pomegranate. And so my father created this blend, what I would call at the time was a golden elixir. And I basically began having it. And after 6 weeks, I was able to play, train pain-free. And from that moment on, I've, obviously gone from strength to strength. I think I was 17, 18, ended up making my first team debut, international debut and Premier League debut. And it really saved my career. And so the objective of what we've done as a business was bringing that blend to people in all different walks of life. And so we launched the business in 2018. And yeah, we've serviced over 100,000 customers UK-wide, which is an incredible achievement and a really changing people's lives through natural nutrition.
Yeah. You couldn't send me some because my knees are both shot in.
Yeah.
Left and right.
I've brought 100 shots out to Qatar with me.
Well, I'm taking them. I'm taking
I'll bring one next time I'm in.